In a world where demons and humans coexist, we meet Basara Tuju, a young woman with a mysterious family past, who becomes the guardian of two demon girls. We will delve into the key moments of this intriguing series called Shin Maimao no Testament, and observe the character development throughout the story. Let's begin when Basara Tuju's father unexpectedly suggests the idea of having little sisters. Basara senses that something strange is going on. Perhaps it was an old childhood dream, but now he is not so excited about it. However, to clarify, there is no chance that Dad will be with Mom that night. Basara is surprised by the news and perhaps a little anxious, and decides to go to the bathroom. He makes the mistake of going in without looking at the touch sign before entering, and finds a girl changing. She attempts to scream, but he quickly covers her mouth, trying to soothe her and calm her down. The scene is filled with tension, and finally, when she manages to calm down, she rewards him with a slap. This is how Basara meets his new half-sisters, Mio and Mariana Narus. Their mother is currently away on a temporary trip, so they are staying with them. In fact, the three of them are about to move into a new house together soon. Basara never expected to wake up and find Mio all over him. Her behavior is ambiguous, almost as if she is trying to seduce him. Something feels hard underneath her, and it turns out to be a box from a game of sassy stepsister. He insists it's not his, but the confusion and screw-ups only increase until he finally ends up falling on top of her, creating a more awkward scene. Unleashing another slap soon after, Maria appears in the kitchen, wearing an apron that seems to imply she is not wearing anything underneath. But in fact she is wearing clothes, but the apron, huge, creates that illusion. Playfully she teases Basara, hinting she placed the juice. Mio watches, convinced Basara's up to something, and her father Jin's advice doesn't help. He warns Basara not to make too many mistakes, hoping he'll stay composed. Later, Basara and Mio go out for errands, and some boys try to bother her. He manages to frighten them away by using pepper as a distraction. As they make their escape, Mio appears somewhat upset. So, he tries to offer her some kindness, and gently reminds her that they are family now, after all. This thoughtful gesture seems to touch Mio deeply. In that moment, she begins to see Basara as an older sister. However, she still hasn't forgiven him for the unexpected surprises in the bathroom and Yusin room. Meanwhile, Jin tells Basara that he has to travel to Dubai for work, leaving the young man alone with his new stepsisters. Soon after their departure, Basara senses a tension in the atmosphere, and believes the girls are frightened as they turn off the lights and make no sound, although he suspects it feels like an uncomfortable situation. His surprise increases when Mio suddenly demands that he leave the house, as they need it as their new base. Maria heightens the warning by magically pushing him against the wall, transforming to reveal the existence of different clans like gods and heroes. With this revelation, Basara learns Mio is a demon, not just any demon, but the future demon queen. Suddenly, everything becomes clear. They altered Jin's memory, and it was all a sham from the start. Now, they aim to alter Basara's memory too. But Maria's magic doesn't work. To her surprise, Basara moves faster than them and manifests a gauntlet. One imposing sword, a clear message of warning. He is also from the clan of heroes. This time he is the one who demands her to leave. Later, Basara seems affected by the power he has just used and calls his father Jin to tell him what has happened. Jin, far from being surprised, reveals that he always knew about it and had pretended not to know the situation. Mio is the daughter of Demon King Wilbert, a peaceful demon who ended conflicts with the 1,000 clan of heroes. But warmongering demons want the throne, so to protect him, Mio was sent to the human world and raised by humans. A year ago, Wilbert died, and his successor wants to destroy her inherited power. Luckily, she was saved by Wilbert's loyal group. Once he learns this story, he will grasp the weight of truth. Mio's life has been filled with secrets and dangers, and her power hasn't fully awakened yet. Jin, who has been guarding the area for a year, chose to protect her. Now, Basara's mission is to find Mio and Maria before time runs out. The two girls face danger as demonic creatures attack them. Mio fights back with all her might, but Basara arrives just in time. Recklessly, he jumps off his bike to save her. With his hero gear, he easily defeats the creatures, showing his decision. His change of heart is clear and firm. They are now his family. Basara opens up to Maria, telling her everything he knows. Although the hero clan watches him, neither he nor Jin truly work for them. They're just humans, or so he believes. Basara questions, but then why does she possess that heroic equipment? Basara then seeks out Mio to apologize. In the end, they both concealed something. She attempted to deceive him about her true identity, while he kept his hero lineage hidden. Maria, on her side, admires Basara's strength, as he managed to nullify her magic, though he insists it was merely by chance. Still haunted by the memory of her human parents dying in a fire, Mio receives a new family photo from Maria, a gesture that she is still trying to recall and understand. That really helps her to look forward. Moreover, Maria appears to have a plan to exert control over Basara. She proposes a master-servant pact, ensuring they can always know each other's whereabouts. It acts as a reasonably reliable GPS for a succubus like Maria. During the ceremony, a magic circle forms on Basara's hand. However, Mio is not pleased at all with the error that places the servant's mark on her hand. If she hesitates for too long, the circle vanishes, causing a peculiar effect. Mio begins to feel a forgetfulness of desire. Maria explaining that the pact punishes the servant whenever he tries to disobey, and reveals that she used her magic from her bucket in the spell. So now the curse demands that Basara touch Mio until the effect subsides. With some discomfort, Basara tries to ease the situation, and as Maria watches with a smile that says it all. Finally, Mio grabs Maria for a private explanation. Perhaps the succubus one ends up with a couple of bruises. The next day, Basara transfers to his new school. He recalls Maria's warning. As long as Mion obeys her teacher, the curse won't activate. In class, as he introduces himself, he's surprised when his childhood friend Yuki hugs him in front of everyone. Yes, he remembers her. However, Mio isn't happy about the reunion and quickly pulls him away. The tension between the girls is clear, especially when Mio mentions they now live together. The news spreads quickly, and Basara becomes known to everyone except one boy, Yajiro Takigawa, who kindly buys him lunch. He explains that both Mio and Yuki are idols at the school, each with their own fan base. Basara observes that with all the attention on them, it's less likely that demons will attempt to infiltrate and attack Mio. Takigawa, on his part, suggests it's intriguing to spend time with someone who has the luck or power to attract princesses. On the way home, Mio remains upset while Maria jokes about the protection they should have used, missing the point. Things get more complicated when Yuki asks to speak privately, and Basara can't refuse because she's his childhood friend, and it's been 5 years since they last met. Instead of sharing good memories, Yuki seriously warns him that it's best if Basara stops interacting with Mio. Basara instantly understands that Yuki is the hero clan and was sent to watch over Mio. He makes the decision to protect her, convincing that Mio is innocent and just an ordinary girl. If the hero clan won't take care of her, then he will. For his part, Mio feels bad for not foreseeing something like this since Yuki hugged him. But how could she return that favor? Maria has an idea. Yuki warns her that at this rate, Basara won't be enough to face the demons, minors who are being attracted to Mio's growing powers. If this becomes a danger to others, she will become a target to eliminate, and Yuki will show no mercy, even if it means Basara ends up hating her. And as proof, Yuki cuts a demon without hesitation. At home, Maria decides that to make up for the prank from earlier, and as a thank you, Mio should help Basara in the bathroom, and with an extra touch, Maria goes a step further by bringing a cake that accidentally ends up about him, so she seizes the chance to lick him. Then it appears that Basara begins to awaken his dark side, ready to act on impulse, but it turns out to be just a dream. Eventually, he wakes up in bed with Maria, who sneaked in and is now caught under his hand. Maria admits that she used her powers to glimpse into his steamy dream. The following day at school, Mio's worry triggers the curse, leading Basara to choose to set aside the summer tasks just to remain by her side in her dream. The infirmary, and definitely a better choice. Later, Takigawa approaches him while taking a break, but just then, some demons start attacking. Basara quickly knocks him unconscious to confront them, and then runs to Mio. However, she is gone. It turns out that Yuki has taken her to the rooftop to talk. He demands her to stay away from Basara since as long as she is by his side he will suffer. But Mio doesn't plan to leave, not after he promised to protect her, even knowing the truth, as they are now family. The tension rises, and they realize that confronting each other is the only way. Yuki, upset, reveals a painful secret about Basara. 5 years ago, he sacrificed nearly all his powers to save her, costing him his comrades. That's why Basara and Jin left the village, and that burden still haunts him. Basara arrives to stop the fight, but a mysterious masked man intervenes, revealing to Mio that he and Maria have been battling demons every night until dawn, just to keep her safe. As her power grows, more demons are attracted to her, endangering humans. If it worsens, the hero clan might see her as a threat and shift her status from observation to elimination. Yuki wished to spare her that fate by asking her to leave. Yet Basara kept Mio in the dark, not wanting her to feel guilty. But Mio ends up she feels intense guilt when a demon attempts to attack her from behind. Basara, unable to summon his heroic equipment because of past trauma, decides to throw himself unarmed to shield her. He collapses into Mio's arms. With one last moment of comfort, Mio faces a tough situation, as everyone blames her and insists she must make the right choices. Yusan, meanwhile, Basara recovers at home thanks to his training as a hero from the past. In a flashback, he recalls a tragic moment when one of the heroes, Sato, stole the sealed demon sword Bryn Hurt and began murdering everyone in the village. In a critical instant, when Yuki was about to be killed, Sato's Basara, an immense power, now faces another problem. Mio is missing, and Basara knows that she is impulsive enough to try to solve the problems, things on their own. Mio encounters a masked demon, determined to take him on because she believes this fight is hers alone. However, she soon realizes that she is not strong enough, and with the threat of him hurting her loved ones, she agrees to accompany him to the demonic realm. But before he can take her, Yuki appears to save her. Although she can break his barrier by quickly hitting the same spot, she is no match for the demon. Then it is Basara's turn to take action. He plans to use his Vanishing Shift move, a powerful technique that nullifies everything. This same technique had caused a large crater growth in the village when he fought Sato. And as a result, both he and Bryn Hurt were confined to prevent something like this from happening again, with Basara and Maria duoing up to hit the masked demon with a series of combos and finally defeat him. However, before they can celebrate their victory, a demon sneaks up and stabs Basara. Unbelievable, it is the same demon that killed him earlier. Mio's anger awakens her supreme power, unleashing an explosion of energy. Although Basara is fine, she cannot control this overwhelming power and asks him to kill her, but he refuses, arguing that she is his family and that his little sister is more important than the world. Logic confuses her, prompting Basara to use Vanishing Chief to restore order. The next day, Yuki visits Basara's house with medicine. She questions if the Vanishing Shift she used was the same, but Basara explains he controlled it this time. Returning to school, Basara confronts Takigawa, realizing he's the masked demon. However, he is not there to fight, but to make a deal. He knows that Takigawa's mission is to awaken Mio's power while watching her. Since he has failed, someone more powerful will be sent to replace him, and Basara has not yet recovered enough to face that. He proposes to Takigawa to pretend that nothing happened and continue to monitor Mio, or else he will reveal his failure and be replaced. Even though they are enemies, Basara is willing to trust him. He has a heart that when he stabbed him, his vital organs were deliberately spared, and Takigawa had multiple opportunities to kill Maria during the hunt. Takigawa agrees to cooperate with Basara's plan for now, as he would be in trouble if this became public. Basara also asks him what killed Mio's human parents. Takigawa responds that Solkya was supervising Mio before him, and cautions her that he lacks Takigawa's patience and will act soon. It's fan service time. Basara wakes up to find Maria naked on top of him. Though it would be rude to hit her, he argues he's already done worse. "Are you gay?" He then has an awkward moment when he enters the bathroom and sees Mio wrapped in a towel. Just then, they both slip, and he ends up as Mio's butt on his face. To compensate, he receives 5 lakh volts of electricity. But Basara's troubles don't end there, as suddenly Yuki arrives to wash his back. She gets jealous because he was intimate with Maria and Mio, but doesn't want to do it with her. But there's no arguing with this. She threatens him to do more daring things, and won't let him do it. Later, Mio goes to the door to apologize and sees a girl's uniform outside. Basara claims it's his, saying he enjoys dressing as a woman. When Mio opens the door, she's shocked by the scene, but her curse activates, and Maria, ready to capture it on video, gets stuck in the bathroom. Afterwards, Basara invites Takigawa to a barbecue as a way to make amends. The latter informs him that reinforcements will be sent to observe Mio, because the superiors believe that in his power, he is awakening. Takigawa mentions the pact Basara formed with Mio, which is not only a curse, but can also make him stronger. As his faith and loyalty grows, so does his combat potential. However, the greatest act of betrayal would be to be captured by the enemy, which would activate the curse to its fullest extent, and they would eventually die. At that moment, her voluptuous teacher, Chisato Hasegawa, joins them. No wonder the men want to flirt. Hasegawa walks with Basara and hints to him that she knows what is going on. He looks confused, so she tells him that he should think more about what he really wants to protect. She then kisses him on the forehead and recites a protective incantation from her village. Takigawa meets Valga, the reinforcement supposedly sent. She knows Valga won't be content to just watch, though she warns her that the hero clan has already taken matters into their own hands. Then Zed, Solgia's right-hand woman, appears. She has orders from the most powerful demon, and Takigawa agrees to work with her. Basara talks to Maria about how this curse he put on her was actually so that Wilbur's power wouldn't fall into enemy hands. Maria had to take a chance and choose between allowing him to protect her, or let it fall into the hands of her enemies. Of course, she didn't tell Mio because of that guilt that torments her. So Basara decides that the best way to learn how to master this pact is to play her 2000 Hirogia. However, he gets a bad surprise when he meets a bad ending. Maria guides him through the game, but is surprised to discover that she is being shown ecchi scenes. Mia is not very happy to hear this, and takes Maria away to give him a good choice. Basara will be able to save us this time. Meanwhile, a group of heroes, Takashi Hayase and Kurumi no Naka, and Kyojishi Shiba, are on a movement eliminating minor demons nearby. 2001 seems to have orders to kill Mio, whose status has changed from observation to elimination. Basara has gotten into trouble with the guys from Mio and Yuki's fan club. The teacher intervenes before something unpleasant can happen. Yuki called the teacher and now asks her for a favor. He wants her to go out with him next weekend. They make such a cute couple. But Mio is there too, maybe jealous and following them. While shopping, Yuki's sister Kurumi tells her playtime is over, and since then Yuki has been missing while the others wait. Suddenly they are attacked by Valga, a tough guy that Basara and Maria together can't defeat. However, Valga is frozen and then destroyed. Thanks to Takashi, Basara learns that the village has changed Mio's status, which displeases him, while Kurumi is furious about a hero protecting the Demon Lord's daughter. Shiba proposes a 3-on-3 fight in a week's time to avoid destroying the city. Shiba will only be the referee and will inform him of the place and time. That night, Yamajin will visit to discuss the situation. He's in a big dilemma, especially since Yuki doesn't want to fight Mio. If he fights, he'll be the enemy of all the world's heroes. But Jin has no obligation to those heroes anymore, as he was tasked with guarding Basara when exiled from the village. Basara trains with the girls and reveals his former allies' tricks, like Takashi's Byakko, which can only attack from the west, and Kurumi's magic, which is limited to the west. Wind spirits. If they keep their orientation and distance correctly, they stand a chance. Kurumi scolds Yuki for developing a fondness for the enemy, shopping and all, reminding her that she used to work hard to become strong, but now she seems to live carefree and forget about the mission Usand. Also, Takashi keeps record against Basara because his vanishing shift erased everything and not even bodies of the dead were left, which prevented him from firing properly. To the deceased. Maria gives Basara more fan service to strengthen the master-servant bond. She starts to arouse him, explaining that succubi absorb such lust to turn it into their strength. Suddenly they start licking her body, something that provokes a look from Mio, who surprisingly doesn't get angry. This seems to be part of Maria's plan to make Mio take control, as it takes a bit of bonding. However, this scene could have been very sensual if it weren't for those pesky light sensors. Anyway, all ends well. The next day at school, Takigawa approaches Basara to inform him that since De Valga was killed, he and his people might have to interfere in their battle. This means that he will exterminate their enemies by force, including Yuki. So if they don't want them to act, they must be sure to win. Yuki has been missing for a whole week. Basara appears to ask him to back out from the fight, something he simply cannot do, even if it means more than just being exiled and turning into an enemy of all the heroes worldwide, since Mio is his sister, which is enough to persuade him. He then hands her his spare key to his house, showing that he intends to win this battle and allow Yuki free access to his home, so she can become part of his harem. The fight is set on an elevated bridge over a busy road, which is unexpected since a forest or abandoned building was anticipated. The barrier activates, allowing them to battle freely in the area. There's uncertainty about whether the damage will impact the real world. While Mio and Maria handle Takashi, Basara draws Kurumi in. They then utilize their vanishing shift to seal their spirits. This not only signifies that he defeats her, but it also ensures her safety from falling. As she reminisces about her joyful childhood memories, her demeanor transforms, revealing herself as a blushing girl. Now, they are confronted with Yuki, who does not appear to be very entertained. Kurumi makes the decision to join Basara. In an unexpected turn of events, Yuki strikes him with the flat of his sword, forcing him to consume a potion that causes him to sleep for half a day. Next, Yuki confronts Takashi, who is exhausted from the endless game of cat and mouse with them. Yuki is determined not to relive the tragic events of the past, so he has grown stronger to defend what Basara is striving to protect. Basara, in turn, was also a victim of this tragedy, as he was not the traitor. It was they who betrayed him by casting him out from the village. Maria urges Mio to go to Basara's side and attempts to rouse him, as he appears to be caught up in regrets about his past in the village. His dream. Eventually, Basara awakens and encounters Mio, who requests his protection, empowering her to escape the dream spell. It's now her chance to shield Yuki and face Takashi. Initially, Basara takes a defensive approach, but soon employs speed to strike back. Byaku turns defensive, reverting to its true form, a white tiger dedicated to protecting its bearer, though it won't attack unless provoked. Half of the barrier is built by Byaku's power. The plan is to lure their attack while simultaneously breaking their wind barrier. Yuki will help him with that, and thanks to her trust in him they manage to defeat Byaku. Takashi wants Basara to kill him, but he refuses since they are childhood friends, which raises the question of whether he remembers the other childhood enemies he killed. Takashi starts to insult him for siding with Mio, but she buffets him and reminds him that he is not the only one who has had a hard time. Basara is adamant, stating that he will continue to carry his past and hatred for the rest of his life. Shiba finally declares that the mission is over and that he is temporarily withdrawing due to the fact that they must clean up after he traveled out of control. It would be morally questionable to continue with the elimination of Mio, which would affect their pacts with gods and spirits. So, Takashi must acknowledge that it's all over. All the heroes, including Yuki-kun, must go home. They don't want things to worsen, so they'll have to postpone forming their harem. The mood is somber without Yuki, but when Basara gets home, there she is, making dinner for him. He tells her the village decided to revert Mio's status to observation, and that Jin should have negotiated that. Basara is so happy that she hugs him, which leads Yuki to ask for a kiss, something that makes Mio look quite annoyed. Things get even more complicated when Yuki announces that she will now stay to live with him, as that would be the best way to observe Mio. Then, Maria shows Yuki some juicy footage of the relationship between me and Basara, which causes Yuki to be intrigued, and she ends up undressing, also asking Basara to definitely caress her. Marie experienced several intense moments today. After discovering the master-servant pact, Maria suggests Yuki make one with Basara the following day. Is it to enhance her combat skills, or to expand the harem? Yuki is thrilled about it, sparking a competition between Mio and Yuki in everything, as Yuki is determined to surpass Mio and have Basara pamper her a lot. When Basara sees Maria on the school grounds, he realizes that this cunning succubus is up to something and goes to stop her. She says she is there to check Mio's safety and asks him to accompany her to check places that Mio might visit, such as the bathroom or the rooftop where a couple is giving affection to each other. She then arrives in the locker room where she runs her through. Maria places Mio's panties on the basalt head U-sand. However, they must hide because the girls are returning. Maria is afraid of being punished by Mio, but since they will eventually be discovered, better to seduce him to the fullest now. Just when Mai plays their locker and sees the sizzling scene, he quickly closes it, giving them a chance to leave more decently, and otherwise Basara will get a slap and Maria several blows. They are lucky to escape without consequences. As a result, Mio's curse starts to activate, prompting Basara to use his skills to subdue it. Despite the controversy over the timing and use of the shower over her swimsuit, it appears to be effective. When it's time to leave, Basara realizes Maria is missing and searches for her. To his surprise, he finds her running into Takigawa, which seems suspicious. Later, Maria explains that she got lost, and Takigawa gave her directions. He then asks her to hold hands to walk home together. It seems that Maria needs some affection too, instead of always catering to Mio. Meanwhile, Sez shows Solgia a video about Basara's power. Since Lars, Takigawa's real name, is the only one who knows that power, Solgia doesn't feel the need to worry about him, and will continue with her plans. The moment we're all eagerly waiting for is Yukiya making a pact with Basara. Despite his complaints about her sexy attire, he should allow her to seduce him. She even goes as far as threatening to undress if he refuses to look at her. Yuki desires the same dominant treatment that Basara gives me. So when the curse defaults, Basara should apply what he's learned to satisfy her. If it weren't for those pesky censors, it would have been a sweet moment. Mio can't believe what she's seeing, but she feels a twinge of jealousy about the situation. The next day, during PE class, right after Basara, Byaja Sagawa, her classmate Sakaki walks in and asks her to repeat the same provocative actions with Mio. Suddenly, another potential member for her harem emerges. Yuki attempts to attack Sakaki, but Sakaki skillfully dodges her sword. Thousand realizes that Sakaki is possessed, just like his classmate Aikawa. As Yuki tends to them, Basara goes after Mio, whose mercy has been triggered. However, she is captured by Zest. Before Basara can reach her, they vanish, causing concern as they can no longer sense her. Mio recalls how Solgia entered her life, brutally killing her father and setting her mother ablaze. Maria then comes forward and reveals the truth about herself to her, contrasting the cousin relationship she had always known. Mio is still furious with Solgia for killing her parents. Most shockingly, she now works for him. Solgia was about to have some fun with Mio when she receives an important call from the current demon lord Leohard. It seems that ruins dating back to the war between demons and gods of the Diavola era have been discovered. He wants Solgia to be part of the expedition team because of her magical expertise, which means the fun with Mio will have to wait. Basara calls Takigawa to learn the whole truth. Takigawa knew that Basara had seen him meet with Maria, and that should have made him suspicious. He reveals to him that Solgia never gave up on Mio, and that because Maria ran away with her at the last minute, Solgia went after Maria's family and captured her mother. He can't get rid of Maria because she holds a secret advantage, and she also broke the curse. Mio would have died if someone other than her master took her virginity. Takigawa won't rebel anymore, so Basara chooses to face him to rescue his sister, but it seems he lost. Takigawa goes to meet Zest, aiming to make a deal. Exchange Basara for Mio. Takigawa threatens to inform Leohard that Solgia has kidnapped Mio, and Zest is forced to kill him, something he didn't expect. Basara wakes up inside Solgia's castle, and the first thing he receives is Maria's seductive fan service. Although he is worried about Maria's mother, she can only follow Solgia's orders to subdue his mind. She uses her secret card, becoming a sexy and voluptuous succubus. Basara may be under her spell, but she finally uses her will to free herself. He prefers to save rather than tarnish her honor, as it is not right to take advantage of someone who has tears in his eyes as he seduces you. Maria tries to fight him, but he stands still, withstanding her blows after using a vanishing shift. This is part of the plan to nullify the magic from the inside, so that Yuki can find the location of the castle. Castillo frees Mio, and together they confront Zest, knowing he can't win, attempts a psychological tactic, hinting that Basara is saving Maria, who betrayed Mio. If Mio falls for it, she'd be ineffective. But she knows Basara forgave them and vowed to protect her. She trusts him. While Maria is amazed, Basara stands strong after all she's faced. However, this boy also offers some crucial comforting words. He speaks about the moments they have shared together, expressing how he doesn't want to lose any of it. He insists that he is going to save everyone, which turns out to be quite heroic. This makes Mary's final punch so feeble that immediately after he embraces her, she begins to cry so intensely that it seems like she could shatter the windows. So, we acknowledge the tedious battle with zest, and then skip forward to witness her being defeated and tied up by the couple. As they prepare to leave, Solkia's magic paralyzes them. This twisted demon relishes his new toy. With a hero as his prize, he's eager to have fun with her too. But first, he scolds Zed for failing as a guardian, reminding her he knows she envied those girls and wanted Basara as her master. For this betrayal, she must die. However, as anticipated, she cannot die, even when Basara interrupts with his vanishing sheath to nullify everything. Yet this old demon still has magic up his sleeve. He hypnotizes Basara to glimpse the power he holds. Basara breaks free, but despite his tricks, Solia remains superior. She then uses mind control again to make Basara dream of his Artem girls, seducing him. This is quite an exciting scenario, with Hasegawa and Kurumi both involved. It seems he finds it difficult to resist everyone, unless he happens to be gay. Suddenly, we interrupt this intense fantasy as Mary bursts in to confront him. He offers her two choices: join him along with the other girls, or let her mother perish as she makes her escape. Mary decides to reject both of these options. He waits for this answer and shows the real recording of her dead mother, something that provokes an intense reaction in Maria. She is very affected until she returns to her child form, but this awakens Mio's innate powers. Solki is interested to see that, but when he touches her, his entire arm is destroyed, causing him to look really shaking in his own pants. Mio wants to kill him for revenge, but Basara doesn't want him to dirty his hands or live the rest of his life in pain for his death. Then he orders him through the pact to stop seeking revenge. She refuses, saying they would never be siblings again, and if she does, they would never be a family again. She promised her father to protect her as she embraces him. This distraction allows Solgia to escape, but outside she encounters Taki. It seems he's a puppeteer and just killed one of his puppets. This means that Maria's mother, Shea, also lives. Basara initially thought she was Maria's twin sister. After Takigawa rescued Seiya, he used another doll to make Solgia think he killed her. This is aside from a deal with Basara, and during that fight he wanted to know what Takigawa wanted, and is assured to get it. No, he won't sell it to Leonhardt. He remembers Mio's human parents, who were actually demons, kind demons who helped many orphan demons, and Takigawa was one of them. He admired them a lot. His goal is to kill Solgia with his own hands. With Solia's magic, he throws away his castle and becomes a dangerous beast. To deceive Leonhardt and keep his location a secret, he hid him there. But now the dream effect is fading and the beast is going to wake up, multiply infinitely, and devour the whole world. This seems to be his assurance. If he leaves, they will all look like 2000 with him. Basara learns that this creature has vital organs, but as Zest explains, it can't be destroyed by any physical or magical attack. He plans to use the vanishing shift to the fullest. It's dangerous, but she swore to protect her family, even at the cost of her life. No time to argue. They embark on the mission as a team, with Sez leading them into the core. Encountering that creature feels like navigating through a small house of 1,000 horrors, where aliens unexpectedly emerge to attack. Even the stairs might transform into aliens with razor-sharp teeth. Yuki desires to be the heroine, holding those aliens at bay, and all she needs to do is utter that magic phrase, "Believe in me," and voila, Basara will leave you. Don't look too long at those doll clones that look like Sez, because they will jump out and attack you just before you get to the core. The aliens attack whoever is on offense, so Sez makes it look like he's going to sacrifice himself as bait while it happens. End this. Although Mio is against it because she has a surprisingly big heart, Basara gives her the green light. In no time, the core of the beast is destroyed, and it looks like he is having a big stomach ache since her vomit destroyed a mountain before she died. Zest is still alive, but Basara pushed him out of danger at the last second before using Vanishing Shift. Meanwhile, Takigawa is slowly torturing Solgia as he waits for someone to take advantage of Yusund. Solgia thought she could use that person so she could mind control her and escape, but that person turns out to be Basara. He is here to witness her death as part of the agreement. As Mio and Yuki come to understand Takigawa's real identity, he struck a deal with Basara. This deal ensures Basara's support in return for allowing Takigawa to witness Solgia's demise. Takigawa is indeed a genuine sadist. Solgia attempts to negotiate with Basara, promising more details about Mio if Basara is concerned about her. However, since she doesn't appear to be an appealing and voluptuous girl, no agreement is reached. There is an absence of regret in Basara's eyes, indicating that Solgia is destined for doom. It's time to die. And then her head explodes. Back at home, Zess is given some time to think about what she wants to do next. For now, she decides to consider Basara her new master, since her original master is dead. Basara goes to have a conversation with Mio alone and worries if she might have been tainted. Fortunately, she hasn't. But just the thought that this could happen to her excites him. So he pushes her to the ground and begins to rape her. Something completely unexpected and shocking. The situation gets weirder and weirder when Mio, with a smile on her face, tells him that the only way she could forgive him is to kiss him, suggesting that maybe she is addicted to it. As they are taking too long, Yuki interrupts him and gives Basara a fiery kiss, which marks the beginning of a competition between them. Maria, sad because she thought she would have no part in this, is dragged in by Basara, who seeks her help to dissolve the tension between the girls. They are trying to convince her to join their side. I understand that Mio argues that she is his sister, but Yuki also has her own interest by offering to help him in exchange for doing unseemly things with Mio. Yuki gives Basara a long and hot kiss because he is her brother, which makes the situation even more intense. Gata's fight is going to get really intense in a three-way battle. We take a little more time away from the fiery parts to observe the moderate demon faction as they pick up Zess and Shea. This action ensures they won't remain to be part of Sarah's harem, which, in the end, is quite unfortunate. Naturally, life resumes its usual routine for them, becoming one big happy Aaron family, with the occasional, or rather frequent, showdowns over that boy. Finally, Leohard finds himself puzzled by Solgia's sudden disappearance, and feels the need to investigate her current condition, because according to Takigawa's report, it appears he was involved in some secretive activities. However, when he arrives at the throne room, he finds no one there except for Jin, who has already dealt with all the 1,000 guards. This act is his revenge for those who dared to harm his sons. The air is thick with tension, hinting that something more is unfolding. Who is truly the demon in this scenario? Meanwhile, Maria notices Mio still asleep and dreaming. She sees this as a chance to uncover the nature of her dreams, so she retrieves a special camera designed to delve into her mind. She's thrilled by the idea of something erotic happening, and when she sees Mio's dream, she notices Maria as Basara the succubus. She quickly assumes that role and fulfills her desires with her, leading to some amazing Yuri action. This involves fondling and sucking her breasts, and a curious use of a banana, causing an unexpected situation. Basara appears and stops her, reminding her it's not the time for that. Then, Mary is assigned to cooking breakfast, and she asks Basara to try her new dish. However, Basara is quite surprised when he finds something hard in his food, leading to a comical situation when she reveals it's actually Mio's panties. Basara's shock at swallowing them is undeniable, and Yuki, who witnessed the entire scene, decides to remove her own panties and offer them to him, which further escalates the situation. Yuki doesn't stop there, however, as she takes off her bra and shows off her breasts. Tension mounts, but whatever Yuki asks Basara to do won't happen, as Mio is quite upset to see them engaged in this ungodly act. She fries Basara and the succubus Loli, creating chaos in the kitchen. As Segawa did not get much screen time, the second half is dedicated 2000 in it would not be a waste not to take advantage of those breasts. While Basara is seeking treatment at the infirmary after a minor sports accident, she encounters Hasegawa in a bathing suit. She was trying one on, and thanks to her large breasts, the zipper got stuck. He tries to help her but doesn't realize that it's not that easy. After several failed attempts, she finally succeeds, but exposes herself in an unexpected way. Which creates a rather charged atmosphere. The situation becomes more intimate when she asks him to hug her from the front. When she joins him in the bathtub, Basara's surprise is evident. She begins to wash his back using her breasts and invites him to give her advice on how to improve the experience. When she steals a kiss, it seems to be the breaking point, and then Basara, in an unexpected twist, responds with a passionate kiss of his own. The intensity of this scene escalates very quickly, and the level of provocation significantly increases as he begins to caress and explore her body in ways that push the situation to the very brink of what could be considered inappropriate. When Basara eventually awakens, he finds himself lying in Hasegawa's lap, and confusion about what truly happened in that room hangs heavily in the air, leaving the audience is left pondering whether everything they witnessed was merely a dream or an actual experience that was overwhelmingly intense. Basara, on his end, gets ready to depart, unable to shake off the feeling of being fortunate for the extraordinary experience he just went through. The narrative picks up exactly where the previous season concluded, with Jin getting ready to confront Leohart as a key part of his plan for revenge due to the chaos caused in the past. Despite the epic nature of his battle, Jin comes to the decision that it's finally time to conclude the fight and step back from it all. After this action, it's time for some fan service, starting with Mio dreaming something provocative about Basara. At school, Basara is introduced as a Shivana Nauta, who is part of the festival committee by Hasegawa. The presence of delinquents on the committee is unexpected, especially Adenue, who shows a lack of respect for the budget and wants to impose his will. When words fail, he resorts to violence. However, Basara intervenes to stop him. When Hasegawa enters, Tachibana uses mind control on them, forcing them to follow Hasegawa for advice. Sakazaki advises Basara that something strange is going on with Hasegawa, as she has no enemies, and everyone seems to love her as if she uses some kind of magic. Mio and Yuki meet Takigawa, who asks them to protect Basara in his absence, remembering that the last time her powers get out of control he wishes they were strong enough to stop them, and it happens again. Basara is at the train station when someone mind controls the crowd to attack him, but is saved by Kurumi, who accompanies her home. Upon arrival, they discover a startling scene, Mio and Yuki dressed in sexy lingerie, imploring Basara to accept her as a submissive. Mio realizes Kurumi's presence too late and, feeling embarrassed, retreats to her room. Kurumi discovers this unusual master and servant relationship, while Yuki openly shares her wish to become even more submissive to Basara, aiming to grow stronger. This makes Kurumi feel immature in comparison, and motivated by her pride, she chooses to join in the madness as well. Meanwhile, Maria observes with great interest, thoroughly enjoying the unfolding situation. Feeling the tension, Basara decides to search for his enemy. The sports festival starts, and Basara and his girls stay alert, as Maria warned of a high-ranking demon or skilled person in the crowd. The competition intensifies with a funny rivalry between Mio and Yuki in a three-legged race, both trying to cling to Basara. In addition, there is a balloon event that results in a disastrous scene where the girls end up in compromising positions after the balloons explode. The chaos unleashed is interrupted by Kurumi, who senses that there is something strange about Tachibana. Just before Dono attacks the field with tornadoes, Basara uses his no-shift Venetia technique to weaken the attacks, while the girls help evacuate everyone. While confronting Donovai, Kurumi learns she too has been manipulated. At the same time, Basara faces Tachibana, who shows his true vampire form. In the battle, Basara doubts if Tachibana is the real villain, as his tears appear sincere. Feeling trapped, Tachibana admits he wants a normal life. After defeating him, Basara realizes Mio and Yuki have vanished when Hasegawa confronts them. His doubt about her grows when she easily breaks his sword thanks to a trap barrier created by Sakazaki. Basara manages to escape. Sakazaki, introducing himself as an acquaintance of Jin, reveals that Hasegawa possesses powers equivalent to those of S-class demons and plans to control the school from the shadows. Basara is skeptical of Sakazaki's intentions, wondering why Jin would transfer Mio to this school if she were dangerous. Sakazaki, recognizing his cunning, transforms himself into a fallen god, a being that was expelled from heaven and has become demonic, now invading the human world in search of revenge, using Kurumi as a hostage. Sakazaki forces Basara to lower his weapon, but in the moment of distraction, Basara manages to cut off his arm when Ornis, Sakazaki's real name, lets his guard down and Basara takes the opportunity to attack him. However, it is surprising how he managed to repair his arm so quickly. The situation becomes critical for Ornith. As Basara has entered a state of berserk, the fallen god seems to be trembling with fear, although he is chained by Fleya, Hasegawa's real name. It is revealed that Ornith was to blame for unleashing Bingurd's power, as he wanted to protect Aflea's purity, though he cannot accept that she wants to protect Basara, whom she wishes to eliminate. Aflea, once a fallen god, has her powers sealed away. Yet, they will awaken when needed to protect Basara. The moment has arrived, and she is resolute in her mission to eliminate Ornis. However, she questions why she doesn't let Basara take control, fearing that if she does, Basara might continue his destructive frenzy. Ornis begs for his life, but it doesn't appear to save him, sealing his fate. Hasegawa chooses to heal Basara through an unconventional method, allowing him to unleash his rage. He uses a focus and curious while engaged in this healing. She also slightly alters the memories of Basara and his girls, as it is not yet the time for him to know his true identity. Thus, the sports festival concludes without major incident. Tachibana apologizes to Basara for attacking him, explaining that the vampires were driven out of their land, which led some heroes to hunt them down, relieved Basara with his Kan Shibana, who cries in relief. Back in his bathtub, Basara still remembers Sakazaki as the perpetrator. However, he senses that there is someone else protecting him. But he has no time to reflect as his harem arrives, asking them to have fun together. Even Kurumi is part of that group now, and Maria, always looking for ways to make Basara please her girls, is interrupted by her sister Rukia, who seems to invite them to the demonic realm. Meanwhile, Leohard and his demons have unearthed another reliquary and are not happy with the fighting nobles. Without analyzing the situation, his loyal followers pledge their strength to help him defeat the Wilbert Council he failed to eliminate. Lars reports that the moderate faction has summoned Amigo back to the Demon Kingdom, which presents the greatest opportunity for Leohard to claim the inherited power of Mio. This summons seems aggressive, justifying their action to remove the threat. Rukia, as messenger, can't reveal the purpose, but assures Ramsus, moderate faction leader and Wilbert's brother, will explain. This allows the group to reflect. Basara is frustrated and thinks Mio shouldn't comply with the 2009 summons. However, after Maria and Basara promise to always stay by her side, Mio decides it's time to return, realizing that running away won't solve anything. She feels guilty for involving him in this situation, but they reassure her that they will protect her no matter what. So, they gather their belongings and get ready to depart. The demonic realm proves to be quite an intriguing place. Upon arriving at Wildart's castle, which once belonged to Wilbert and is now under Ramsus's control, they are surprised to find Cest working as a servant there. She has actually been hired as Seiya's personal assistant. A little succubus, Seiya's mother, appears to flirt with Basara. Maria is summoned by Rukia to be punished for her actions from the previous season, and it seems that this involves some sort of punishment from SIM, since Maria must strip. Basara intercedes, arguing that it is not Maria's fault and considers her as her little sister. Rookie warns that even if he does this, Mary's guilt won't vanish, then asks if he wants to punish her instead. The punishment is unusual. Rukia heightens Maria's pleasure with each stroke, driving her to ecstasy until she faints. Kurumi, overhearing this, is punished for eavesdropping, and Basara argues she's Maria's friend and deserves the same punishment. So in a rather bizarre twist, she also goes into a state of heightened pleasure, and the scene becomes surreal with Basara licking her armpits. When he finally returns with the rest of his harem, he meets Klaus, Wilbur's ex-stratega, who takes him to the Great Hall. There he explains the growing tension between Leohard and Wilbur's use and loyalists, until Ramsu comes forward as a moderate. However, few Wilbur loyalists are quick to change their loyalty. As Noel guides them through the city, Seth separates from the group, burdened by guilt over Basara and Mio's suffering. Feeling lost, he encounters trouble with guards. Accepting her fate, Basara distracts them and carries zest when her heels break. This leads to another example of Basara's kindness towards his girls. When they return to Wildart, they encounter Ramsus. Klaus says Ramsus isn't interested in Mio herself, but in extracting the demon lord's power within her. This catches Basara's attention, as it might allow Mio to live normally. However, Klaus warns Ramsus's method is risky. Only the demon lord can safely extract the power, and Ramsus's attempt could put Mio's life at risk. Mio's life. So it's time to think deeply about their next decision. In the midst of all this, another amusing dynamic presents itself when Maria tries to do something naughty with Kurumi, but she refuses to let her modesty be compromised. We then see Noel washing Mio in a rather suggestive manner. Mio discovers that Noel and Lars come from the same orphanage and worries about him, seeing in him a reckless guy who is always exposing himself to danger in the human world. In the end, Basara finally meets with Ranzus for a conversation. At the same time, Luca, who is Leohardt's most talented wizard, even though he's just a child, successfully extracts a powerful biological weapon from the ancient war era, known as a heroic spirit. Basara arrives with determination to confront Ramsus about his intentions concerning how he plans to treat Mio. However, Seiya steps in, pointing out that engaging in a fight will only bring Mio more suffering. Instead, he suggests that they all enjoy some light-hearted moments through fan service, and implies that Seiya should take the lead. The concept of giving Basara a thorough washing, just as a diligent maid would, comes to mind. The notion of establishing a master-servant pact arises swiftly, and both parties, without objection, set it up. This leads to a fan service scene so suggestive that it could be likened to any adult production, where Basara takes it upon himself to soothe Zest's desires. Following this episode, everyone proceeds to pay their respects at Wilbur's grave. The next morning, the city is suddenly awakened when Galt, Leohart's general, arrives in a relic, warning of the consequences if Mio isn't handed over. To show his power, he destroys a mountain. Meanwhile, all the girls except Mio get ready for battle. Mio must stay in the room and watch the fight on TV to avoid the enemy's trap, plus for some political reasons. As Basara battles Galt one-on-one, Suaran decides to face the relic. Mio loses patience seeing Basara hurt, but she manages to severely damage Galt. Suddenly, an alien beam hits him, burning his body before Mio. Mio's fury erupts. Gol is displeased with Nevra's interference, as Nevra is supposed to observe only. However, Nebra thinks Leohard shouldn't grow stronger, and aims to demonstrate the proper use of the relic. In the end, Gal is defeated, allowing Mio to appear before Nebra furious and ready to kill him, not one anime, but 1,000,000 times. The destruction of the relic frightens Nebra, who realizes Mio's true power, yet she collapses after so much effort. Nebra, desperate to unleash an explosion, is neutralized by Ransoms, who uses his gravitational power. In an even more desperate attempt, Nebra lunges to kill Mio, but Basara stabs him, surprising everyone. As Nebra pleads for his life before revealing the true villain, he explodes, keeping the cowards silent. The others are stunned to see Lars taking Gal's body. Basara assumes he belongs to the moderate faction, but he claims to have his own complicated circumstances. Lars instructs him to handle the situation and proceed to Leohardt's castle, where he is expected. Mio reassures Klaus not to worry, as she plans to live as a human and doesn't intend to succeed her father. On his return, he encounters Jim after a long time. Meanwhile, Gal survives and informs Leohardt about Bryn Herd's dimensional fluctuations and the mysterious power that enabled Basara to win, despite losing an arm. During the process, Leohardt sends a message to Ramsu regarding their upcoming confrontation, which will be a tournament. It's a 7-on-7 match, and the team with the most victories will gain control of the demonic realm. Ramsus and Jin are skeptical, as there's no mention of the valuable MW, making them suspect something shady is going on for the council to approve this tournament. However, she has no choice but to accept or risk an all-out war with casualties. They discuss Safia's whereabouts, and Shaya points out that she is not in the demonic world at the moment. As the conversation progresses, the scene cuts to a fan service moment where Basara attends to Mio with the skill of a professional actor. We then see Basara and Jin training in the forest. It's funny that instead of enjoying fan service moments, we are treated to a father and son training. During a break, Jin asks about his chances of beating Leohardt. Although he acknowledges that he can't win outright, that doesn't mean he can't succeed. He knows that Basara is unsure of his true power, so he decides to speed up his training. Meanwhile, the girls are also in their own training session, which includes exercises that leave little to the imagination. Shaya, seeing that Mio is feeling like a burden, advises her to first focus on developing her own powers. He then uses a pill that suppresses the girls' lust, but with the drawback that the more loyal they are, the harder it will be for them to determine Basara's position. Suddenly, the nearby forest seems to undergo an almost atomic explosion. Apparently, that's what happened to Basara's training. His father has gone too far, and now he needs a little care. On the girls' side, a huge crater is all that remains of what used to be a forest. Unfortunately, fan service expectations are dashed when Basara wakes up in his room and finds his father instead of the girls. It's time to talk about serious things, like the need to learn to control and channel that destructive power into a concentrated attack. This idea brings back traumatic memories of when Basara almost destroyed his village. Fortunately, Jin pulls him out of his thoughts and mentions the 3 limiters he has, one conscious, one subconscious, and the hatred towards Brim Hill for the incident. The difficulty in controlling that demonic sword means that its wielder must be fully concentrated, or else he will lose his mind. Basara, fearful of that, has limited Bryn Herd's power during her training. He did not take the time to reflect on this, and as a result, the crater formed. Before he can face Leohardt, he must remove at least 2 of Yusan's limiters, or he will find himself in serious trouble. Nevertheless, Jin emphasizes that winning is not the sole objective. If they succeed, the moderate faction is likely to push for Mio to become the next Demon Lord. A draw is not a viable solution either. But Jin has a plan in place, and if Basara does not succeed, his father will be there to support him. The situation becomes even more surprising when Jin feels the need to reveal to Basara that he has two mothers. That night, Basara trains by unleashing his power into the sky, leaving Yuki to watch him. The next day, Basari and Suwaran begin their journey to Leohart's castle, assuming that they were the representatives, as no one else seems to be good enough to fight for their cause. The boys arrive at the Leojar's castle, where they meet Vilpagor, one of the council members who took Solgia's place after her disappearance. This new villain joins the list of antagonists we love to hate. Before entering the great battle, it is necessary to enjoy a little fan service to become stronger. They must submit even more to Basara, who without a second thought orders them to undress, giving way to a celestial orgy. Basara is fortunate. Meanwhile, Vilpigor also indulges in his own orgy, but his power causes all the women he meets to eventually fade away. Later, Basara meets Lars secretly, not to manipulate the fight, but to ask for some perfume. Yuki wakes from a nightmare where Basara loses control, while Mio struggles with insecurities about him. The most effective way for her to conquer her fears is by flirting with him, kissing him, and then making love in the shower. Meanwhile, Basara is so preoccupied in the shower that he fails to notice the message Lars has sent him. The day of the tournament has finally arrived, and the noticeable absences of both Vilpigor and Basara are causing concern among Basara's harem. The rules of the match are straightforward. Not fighting or dying means losing. This revelation surprises the girls, as Mio becomes the prize for the winning team. I win the tournament. The first fight is between Mio and Luca. The situation becomes really complicated when Luca isn't the one facing Mio, but instead, it's an ancient heroic spirit he has unearthed. Mio finds herself in a difficult situation when the locket starts to regenerate. However, she recalls what Basara told her earlier that morning, that he would have to attend to some business, but would come back. This memory gives him the motivation and impetus needed to unleash his full power and defeat the monster, surprising everyone in the crowd with his incredible demonic power. Maria can't overcome Lars, so she decides to transform into a more sensual version, thinking more curves will empower her. This seems to be her strategy. Even though she fights well, Lars remains superior. The crowd demands his death, but Lars refuses, saying he'll decide who to kill. In the end, he wins, leaving Noelle relieved he's unchanged. Rukia and Mio are deeply concerned about Maria, so much so that she is accompanied by the Uzi, rather than focusing on Kurumi's Yusand. Even Yuki expresses worry as Kurumi attempts to console her with gentle, windy words that move her to tears. Kurumi is compelled to face Viscount Admirat, a dedicated servant of the council. Admirat offers Kurumi a gift from Basara, and implies that if she fails, her man will be at risk. Even though he realizes it's a trick, his guilt is overwhelming. The battle intensifies, and Leohart's men notice Kurumi isn't fighting at full strength. Valfrir, Leohart's right-hand man, decides to investigate. Eventually, Kurumi is defeated by Admirat's hollow deer, who is about to kill her, but Zess steps in to protect her. Kurumi's defeat is accepted, yet Sess interrupts before a winner is declared, which means he will have to give up his own fight. So our heroes are losing 1-3, but they know they still have a chance to win the next ones. Meanwhile, Basara infiltrates Belpagor's mansion, using perfume to spread the scent of Solgia. He manages to infiltrate undetected and interrupts Belpagor's activity. The latter alerts and cuts him, which causes Basara to revive, as he had actually let himself be wounded first. Madonis praises Admirat's work, assuring that if all goes well, they won't have to resort to extreme plans. Valfrir hears this and continues his investigation. The next fight is Yuki against Volga, who happens to be Valga's brother. This guy comes across as arrogant and dismissive, even bad-mouthing his brother, claiming that the fight will end in one blow. Unfortunately for him, he is the one who ends up getting cut in one move so quickly that no one noticed. In the next fight, Valfrir was supposed to fight Rukia, but since Valfrir is absent, Rukia wins by fort fight. The situation is tied. The final fight should be between Leohard and Basara, but since the latter doesn't show up, everyone starts to worry. Rukia suggests letting Ransu replace him, which makes one wonder why that wasn't done earlier. The last stage will be set in Shandu, a demonic setting, which means that even if Basara makes it back, she will struggle to fight there. Concerns grow when it seems Basara has been lost to nothingness. If you've kept your faith, it's time to rejoice, as Basara is in Shandu. The epic battle starts, and Basara uses perfume to create double illusions for Leo Hart. Yet, his movements are slow, as if concealing something. When Leo Hart appears to defeat him and pass Kaya the lava, he reveals a pill that Sheila gave him. The pill is designed to unleash the demonic blood inside him, along with the blood of his other mother. After taking it, Basara transforms into a super-powerful Demon Lord armor, effortlessly defeating Leo Hart. However, the cost is steep, as his body starts to bleed from the immense power, tearing his flesh apart. At that point, Mio can't bear the situation and turns to Shandu. Just as Basara is about to defeat Leo Hart, Mio shows up, bringing her to Earth, where zombie students attack and the toxic air melts his clothes. He then realizes this is inside Basara's mind. He looks for Basara and faces his worst fear, Solgia. Despite everything, he recalls that believing in Basara allows him to conquer inner demons. He finally locates him, but Basara's instincts urge him to kill her. His rational side resists while she stands by helplessly. Slowly, she succumbs to the power, leading to a surprising intimate moment where Mio accepts whatever Basara desires, due to their shared connection. They return to Shandu, and Basara regains his true form, highlighting the undeniable strength of their bond. In a surprising turn, Basara shakes Leo Hart's hand, establishing a truce between them. The council is worried to hear about Belpegor's fall, yet Madonis remains calm and chooses to play his trump card, the ultimate demon that rules over all heroic spirits. This demon can summon his hero allies to bring down the entire demonic realm with him. The situation is desperate, as the heroic spirits are wreaking havoc among the innocents, and Madonis believes this is the way to test their weapons and prepare for the next attack against the gods. Regardless, they are willing to rebuild the demonic world brick by brick. Admirat is going to settle the score with Kurumi. Yuki and Zest stand in his way, but he has poisoned the air with miasma. However, to everyone's surprise, Maria and Kurumi awaken stronger than ever, ready to take down Admirat. After a fierce battle, Maria finishes him off spectacularly, relieving us that this villain is gone. Then, Lar is determined to confront a heroic spirit to save Noelle, meeting her fans' expectations. For those wanting to see Zess in action, she faces multiple heroic spirits like compensation. Meanwhile, Ramsus uses his power of gravity to keep Chaos under control. Basar sees how his power could be useful in stopping Chaos. They need to open a black hole and push him back to his place of origin. With the power of belief, Leohard helps keep Chaos contained, while Mayo opens the black hole. Basara releases all his limiters and transforms into another powerful Demon Lord armor, pushing Chaos back to where he belongs. The heroic spirits vanish at once. The council discovers Chuck and realizes his plan has failed, yet Madonis has another trick. Shockingly, they all reveal a button to detonate everything, but before they press it, Yala, Leohard's sister, swiftly ends their lives. This act halts their destructive plans. She calls upon Jin, who also aims to dismantle the council. Their conversation reveals that Jin is one of the former high-ranking dragons, leading to palpable tension between them. Had it not been for Basara's intervention, they might have started fighting. Yala decides to investigate Belpegor's mansion together with Leo Hart. She detects a familiar pain that leads her to believe that Basara was responsible for Belpegor's death, that eliminating Belpegor will reduce the influence of the council and help appease the demonic world's war. However, he fails to understand why Basara would want to fight Leo. Hard Jin and Ramson explain that eliminating the council would not easily resolve the conflict, even if they offer Belpegor's head as a gesture of peace, and those who have been overcome will be even more cautious. That is why Basara will risk his life in the fight against Leo Hart, hoping to reveal the council's plot and find a Yusin path to peace. With the conflict waning, fewer people will seek to harness Mu's power. Ramsus watches as Basara has changed the history of the demonic world, all for the sake of his sister. In the end, if you're wondering how Basara made it back after being on the brink of death, Lars picked him up so he could finish what he had started. With that, our heroes return to Earth. Ironically, Basara wakes up from Mio's traumatic nightmare. To soothe her on a cold night, Mio asks her to hug him, hinting that she wants Leosen to provide comfort. However, They are interrupted by an indiscreet Mary, who keeps talking while signing the scene. The situation becomes even more chaotic when Yuki and Kurumi also want to be near Basara, dancing around him in a sensual manner. Zest joins the party, leaving Mio feeling a bit left out. Basara, however, turns into a real man and tells everyone to calm down, assuring them that he releases them all together. Thank you for joining us on this tour of Shinmai Mao. Don't be afraid. We have seen how Basara, Mio, and Yuki not only fight against powerful adversaries, but also face their own feelings and relationships. Don't forget to leave me your opinion in the comments and subscribe for more content about your favorite anime. See you later.